I don't know where you guys are right now, but right now it is about 95 degrees outside, and I figured let's have something nice and cool and light. That's where this recipe from Genshin Impact comes in. It is Xiao's favorite, and it is almond tofu. I don't know, what do you think, Paul? Think it's gonna be good? I'm talking to a doll right now. Combine 400 milliliters of almond milk and 100 milliliters of regular milk, and then put 2/3 of that in your sauce pot. Are you working? Or do you just turn on for funsies, or? Once you figured out your new stovetop, we're gonna take 100 milliliters worth of our mixture and add in 15 grams worth of gelatin just to bloom it. You do need to bloom your gelatin in your liquid ahead of time, so this way we can fully incorporate it into the hot liquid later. Wait, it's winding up, making really annoying noises. Now as your Death Star starts to activate, we're gonna take 50 grams worth of sugar and add it to your milk mixture in the pot, followed by just a pinch of salt. Once it starts coming up to a nice light simmer, temp this to around 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and once you reach that temperature, go ahead and turn off the liquid. At this point, add in your obligatory splash of vanilla, grab your bloom gelatin, and just make sure it's nice and solid. Please don't fall out, please don't fall out, please don't fall out. Okay. After testing your gelatin, we're going to start tempering the gelatin with our hot milk mixture. The reason why you want to temper it is so you don't scald the gelatin. I don't have a tiny whisk, okay? I missed out on the Babish drop. So Babish, if you want to send me out a tiny whisk, I would really appreciate it so I don't have to use a single chopstick, but a single chopstick works perfectly fine. After tempering half of the liquid into your gelatin, this is where we're going to put that entire mixture back into the pot to fully incorporate the gelatin with the remaining amount of mixture. Now, after letting it sit for about 2 or 3 minutes, grab yourself whatever, can you not do this right now with this container, please? Grab yourself a nice squared up container and pour all of your mixture into that container. I like using the Pyrex, but you can use whatever round container you want. You could use a deeper container, but just make sure you skim off the top to free it of any bubbles, but also any rogue pieces of gelatin. Now, I like to let this sit at room temperature for around half an hour and then let it set in the fridge completely. Now, in the world's cutest sauce pot, we are going to make our beautiful tea syrup. You're going to need 250 milliliters worth of clean filtered water, because you do use clean filtered water for your teas, right? Followed by about 50 grams worth of sugar. This is going to help sweeten the overall tea syrup that we're going to create later. Don't listen to editor Paul right now. He said 50 grams of sugar. Dude, this is flour. Don't listen to me either. That would have been fun. Now that we have sugar, if you're making a simple syrup, you are going to need 1-to-1 just about. So we're using about 250 milliliters worth of water, so I'm just gonna add more sugar. All right, that's fine. I got called out on that. When you're making a simple syrup, you do need 1 part water to 1 part sugar, so just keep that in mind. You don't need to use 250 milliliters if you don't need it. Now, once all of that sugar is dissolved, this is when we're going to add about 1 gram worth of tea, or just 1 tea packet is totally fine. I'm using osmanthus tea because I was able to find it, but if you can't, find a nice oolong or a nice jasmine, and that's gonna be perfectly fine and pair up really well with your almond tofu later. Now, here's the thing with using tea in your syrups or your sauces. A lot of the time you don't want to oversteep your tea, just like you're making a regular cup of tea. If you leave the tea in there for too long, it can get bitter and stringent. So just keep that in mind if you're doing this. If you let it sit too long, or you let it sit overnight to steep, you may run into the issue of your sauce or your syrup actually being bitter, which is going to really kind of cut through all the other flavors that you're trying to go for, because it's such a delicate dessert. Gently stir your tea and your syrup together for those 2 to 3 minutes, and then after it is steeped, we're just gonna go ahead and strain this out completely. Oh, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and strain that. Now, this is personal preference. If you want to chew on some tea leaves, feel free to include some of them. I choose to not chew on my tea leaves, so I'm just gonna go ahead and completely strain out all of those leaves. It's gonna give us this beautiful amber color. Enough, are you ready? Lucian, you ready, buddy? Now, to separate this, grab yourself an offset spatula and gently separate the sides. Give this a flip onto your cutting board, and it's not gonna release, is it, dude? It's not gonna release. But I think I don't have a choice. I'm gonna boil some water. It was a good attempt, but we all knew we had to use the boiled water technique. I boiled some water in a kettle, but just use a pot if you have one. Pour some into a larger container, and then we're going to drop the almond tofu very carefully into that hot water for about 30 seconds. This is going to help release that tofu from that mold. And if you'd used a metal container, I mean, you could always use a blowtorch, which I highly suggest and maybe not recommend. But that hot water is gonna get the job done, so go ahead and give it another flip. Is that enough? Work with me here. Release yourself. Up, up, Gangnam style. Look at that. Beautiful, smooth, like my face. Bro, you have a beard. Either way, we're gonna cut this into 6 equal pieces, or cut it into 8 equal pieces. Cut it into, just have it as 1 whole piece. You can have it however you want. Look at this little guy. Look at that jiggle. Look at it. It's beautiful. I'm just gonna let you enjoy the struggle that apparently is very real for me right now. You know, I don't like that this has a rounded corner, so I'm gonna go ahead and get... You need 3 pieces. There are 4 corners. This one has a rounded corner too. Revelation. Oh my God, there's 4 corners. Ah! There you go, buddy. Just go ahead and trim off one of the sides if you really want to make these as even as possible, which I don't recommend. Just eat the almond tofu as is. Stack them however you want or put them into a bowl. And now that we have our almond tofu nicely stacked with all of that jiggle, Lucian decides to join us in the background. Give it a nice dressing with your beautiful tea syrup. And then we're going to hit this with some crushed almonds for texture, which I think is really key. Now, I also added some dates to this because almond and dates just go so well together, but feel free to use something like dehydrated strawberries or goji berries. Make sure you hit it with some fresh mint for that pop of color you really need. There it is, Xiao's favorite dish from Genshin Impact, the almond tofu. There it is, guys, Xiao's almond tofu from Genshin Impact. This remake was relatively easy to put together, and honestly, you can do this in a day. If you start it in the morning, you can have this for dessert for dinner. I'm gonna get a bite with the date, the almonds, the syrup, everything in there. It's actually really pretty. That's fantastic. It's not overly sweet. You can taste the almond, you can taste the tea, and those dates come through. Just like you should come through to pick up one of these limited edition plushies at the link down below. This campaign only goes for a couple more weeks, so make sure you snag yours while you still can, so we can sit here and judge you. Check out this other video where I made Yukihito's Mapo Tofu 6,000% faster. My name is Chef BK. Remember, keep playing with your food.